you doing? It is May 15th and I'm not fishing, but I'm going to go over some of the stuff that I've been using to catch the fish that are spawning so far this year. Got maybe another week or two left of bedding fish, and then it's going to be the post spawn. So let's go over some of the stuff that I've been using that's been really successful for me. Right off the bat, you gotta always have a regular Senko style worm, and the brand that I almost always use is Big Bite Baits. This one, the color is PB&J, just a regular Senko style worm, but instead of paying $8 for a pack, you can pay $3, $4 a pack for the same thing. And they're a little bit more flexible. They might not have the salt impregnation that a Senko does, but it's got a little bit of a scent to it. So I've actually caught a couple fish this year on the beds, just wacky worming this. Just regular simple wacky worm, but I also had some action where I'd put a nail in the head of it and just drag it along the bottom. So when the fish didn't want something that was falling and wanted something on the bottom, that presentation worked out pretty well. So the Big Bite Baits, I used this color, and then I also had a silver color that I used wacky worming. And then I have pink worms. This is actually not Big Bite Baits. This is a Bass Pro Shop regular, same thing worms, Sticko worms, but it's the only one I can find in pink at the time. Just regular pink. I had one fish that only wanted to look at pink things. Everything else, he would just swim away. But a pink worm, he would look at it. He didn't bite it, but he would look at it. Really, my best worm to use for bedding is the Lunker City Spanky worms. Now, these are a little bit different than the normal Senko. You can see the shape of them. The ends of the worm are thicker than the middle, and you hook it wacky style, and it has a really slow fall. And I think that a slow fall is key when you're wacky worming a bedding fish, because it gives it more time for the fish to look at the worm. You're not trying to get a reaction strike, you're trying to just get it annoyed. So he looks at it, looks at it, looks at it, and then it'll hit. The Spankies come in multiple colors. This is the black that came in really well in a couple places. And then just a regular watermelon with red flake was also pretty good. This one, the one lake, first bed I saw, cast on it, fish hit it. Next bed, fish hit it the first cast. So these are awesome. And they're really, they fall a lot slower than a Senko, which is really key when you're fishing in that 1 to 2 foot depth water. So the Spanky was a really great worm. Another thing was the Z-Man Ned Rigs. One is the bubblegum, again bubblegum. It's just a Ned Rig with the Elastec, so it's a little bit tougher. I learned that sometimes you needed to downsize the bait that I was throwing. And I didn't have these on me, so I didn't have these on me, so I took this and I wacky wormed it as a short, small wacky worm. Problem is they float, so that was a little bit difficult to get it under the water, but it presented something different, smaller to the bass. Larger really doesn't work when you're bedding. They want to get rid of all the little animals that are coming to get into their bed and eat their fry. So you want to go small. Another thing that I had success on, and I'm almost out of them, is the Z-Man Hogs, which is like a little craw style hog. Small again, dropped in front of the fish grabbed it. The one thing I don't like about the hogs is they don't seem to hold onto the hook as well, or the hook doesn't hold them as well. We'll see. I gotta try that out. Another thing I learned recently is slow as possible on the fall. Even slower than a Spanky, sometimes the bass did not want anything moving fast. And so I happened to have these in my bag. These are the Jackal Flick Shake worms. Now you're supposed to hook these up to a weighted wacky hook, and it falls wiggling. But then it would fall too fast. But if I put this weightless, just on a regular wacky hook, it would fall so slow, and it gave such a small profile that the bass just chopped it up. They weren't intimidated by it, they weren't scared by it, they just chomped it. So the Flick Shake came in handy the past couple of days getting these bass. I actually ran out of them and I had to go out and get more of them. Alright, so another thing that worked out really well is the Hoax Fish Bamboozle Craw. I put this on Texas rig on a tungsten weight, and it's a craw style. It's got a wide body, but it's a thin frame, if that makes any sense. So this gives a lot of action. So dragging this along the bottom of the water, got a 3.5 pound bass chomp on it. So this is the Bamboozle Craw from Hoax Fish. This also, last year I was getting a couple on these too. When, you know, wacky worming isn't working, I put on the Hoax Fish and I'll get them. Also, I'm not really sure if this makes any difference, but I did apply Liquid Mayhem to some of my worms and did get some action. So I don't know. It either worked or it didn't. There's no scientific way for me to figure it out unless I just sit there and apply this to whatever. It's just another real important thing about bed fishing is to have a really good set of sunglasses to cut down the glare, because you got to be able to see the fish. So what I use are the Wiley X gravity glasses. Excellent glasses especially for their price point. Putting them on, it cuts through the glare, and you can really see the bed, and then you can see the strike zone of that bed and where the fish is going. Because sometimes when you're casting at that bed, the fish will kind of move off to the side and then come back. So you want to see the perimeter of where he's going, because sometimes putting the worm directly in the middle of the bed doesn't work. Sometimes you got to put it behind the fish, and that's when they'll hit. Sometimes to the left, to the right, and also sometimes you'll see a female that's lurking off in the perimeter, and that's the big one. That's the one you really want. So having a good set of glasses is really key. Lastly, I want to talk about the hook I was using during my wacky worm presentation. A couple years ago I started using the Trokar weedless, which is just this one. I don't know if you can see it. And I always go weedless just because I'm not really fishing anywhere that doesn't have a lot of vegetation. So I might as well just go weedless. It doesn't prevent grass from getting all caught up on it, but it helps cut down on the snags. So that's the hook that I was using. It's just a normal hook with a weed guard. However, last year I switched to the Hayabusa Spin Muscle. This is that hook. See that the shape is a little bit different. Instead of having the normal round bend to it, as the Trokar does, this one has a 90-degree angle here and then cuts back. And since I've used this hook, it really has landed me more fish. I'm not losing as many fish. Just once you get them in, they don't really get off. So this hook was key. And when I ran out of these hooks and I went to the old Trokar hook, I couldn't land the fish. The fish came off, I blew it. For me, this is my confidence hook. That little Spin Muscle, made by Hayabusa, got the little clear weed guards. I don't know if the clear makes a difference, but this is the hook I'm using, and if I were smart and used more of the wacky worm tool with the rubber bands around the hooks, it would actually sit perfectly. I think that's why they designed it this way. It'll sit against the worm, and it really helps with the hookup. Now, I was just regularly hooking it through, but even just like that, I had some really good success. You get them in the roof of the mouth, you get them in that little pad on the front lip, and it doesn't let go. Great hook. I had to order more because I was running out of them, snagging tree branches, and I actually broke one of these off in a fish. But this is the hook I use. This is the only hook I use now when I'm wacky worming. Well, there you have it. That's what I was using catching my fish in the spawn this year. Nothing crazy, just keeping it simple. Caught a lot of good fish, a lot of fish over 3 pounds, and even almost 5-pound bass. Got maybe a week or two left, so let's see if I can get some more bass that are spawning before they move to the post spawn. The fish go deeper, and I'm resorting back to drop shotting and jerk baiting. All right, Eagle Scout out. It's a real good time to go fishing. It's so much more fun.